35. Sacked. Children, family, mortgage. And yeah, this is week 3, but it's strange. Almost telling you this story is kind of bringing it all back. Is it week 3 or week 4? So yeah, I just want to tell someone about this and just be open and vulnerable. So you're gonna have to give me a lot of grace if I just start staring into the distance. I guess I will edit that out anyway. I want to talk about this also almost as a help and just, well, first and foremost to myself, just to get it all out. And I'll probably have a cry in the back a few times. So stay tuned. I also want to maybe do this video for people with dyslexia and let them know, well, what's the inspiration. There's no inspiration behind my story, truth be told. I'm sorry. But yes, to those with dyslexia, I just want want you to know how it is. Oh, by the way, I'm an accountant. Did I say that already? Cool. Let's go with that day. First and foremost, were there red flags? Yes. I guess I was telling myself my manager seemed quite transparent that she would tell me if something was going to happen. I fell for it. Don't judge me. And so basically, they called me into a meeting with HR, my manager. They said, Femi, you've been making mistakes. We're going to let you go. And honestly, my manager was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Probably in many ways a fantastic line manager. So I don't want this to be anything negative about my line manager. HR, on the other hand, I don't know if they were doing good cop, bad cop before. I don't know if that was a plan. But HR certainly was bad cop. So I've actually managed. So I was, I don't want to dox myself. I was a senior person in finance, we'll call it. I don't, so HR, I genuinely felt like they had the different brief in front of them, in front of her. She had a different profile. So what she was saying to me should have actually been to someone else, if that makes sense. Because as she was speaking, I was like, I even said to her, actually, what you're describing it can't be me, because you're talking about things that didn't actually happen, and you're putting you're putting 1 and 1 together to make 3, 4, 5, 6. But in actuality, 2 is actually good. But you know what I actually said to her? I said, look, you don't need to do all of this. Like, you don't need to make things up. Honestly, I'm not going to go to ACAS. I can accept I've made mistakes. I can accept that. So you don't need to make things up, if that makes sense. She said, no, I'm just trying to get to know, I'm just trying to understand that. Blah, 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 blah. I was like, it doesn't seem like you're trying to understand. I even asked my line manager, I said, is this true? She said, well, I wouldn't use those words. I was like, okay, so what are we doing here? So people have asked me, what did you say? So I'm very much in these situations, qadar wa qadar, if I'm saying it correctly, which basically means fate. So in these type of things, I just let the higher power, so God, not to sound like a spiritualist, I just let the higher power, God, just take control. And I just succumb to that and just say, do you know what? God's plan is better than whatever I'm thinking, and God's best of planners and all that. And I just stayed not silent, but I just tried to be respectful. And then my granddad raised someone who, I'm not a beggar, whatever that is. So anyway, so I said to her, she was quite emotional. I said towards the end, it's almost like a fantastical thing to say. And I don't know why I said it. I said to her, I understand you're quite emotional, but is it possible we can just direct this emotion to the Etsy page, because I sell a few products, natural skincare? And she was like, we'll look into that. Thank you. So ask me at the end if she actually made a purchase. That would be interesting. But you just need to remind me to remember that. And then, yeah, so it ended. She called me the next day, lovely woman, called me the next day and said, are you okay? All the platitudes. And yeah, and here we are. The next day has now become 3 weeks later-ish. It might actually be 4 weeks, but I'm saying 3 to make myself feel better. This is where my issue of dyslexia comes in. I've had dyslexia for as long as I can remember. Well, no. I'm 35, like I said. I've had dyslexia. I've known I've had dyslexia since I was 21. It was in my final year of university, and I was speaking to this girl, and we were studying together. And I said to her, "Whoa, that's a lot of color on your page." She said, "Yeah, I've got dyslexia, so I have to do this to help me." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So we studied together. Long story short, she actually said to me, "Femi, I think you should also get tested, because I think you've got some reading problems." I was like, "Whatever you have is not what I have." Who did I think I was? Because so by reading problems, I don't know what she saw. Even to date, I don't know what she saw, but I think my problem is the reason people know I have reading problems is I use my finger. I need to use my finger to almost anchor down the letters. And I know as I say this out loud, you're thinking, how could I not know? But yeah. So anyway, so I went. So she said I should get tested. I was like, cool. Do you know what? I've got the result. I've got this exam that I need to do, and unfortunately, I've left it to the last moment. I haven't studied, so it would be lovely if I could get some extra time. So yes, I went to go and get tested. It was the Learning Support Unit, LSU, I think it was called. So went there, told them, "Can I get some a test, please?" They said, "For what?" I couldn't bring myself to say I think I may have something. So I said, "Oh, I just got some reading problems. I'd love to get tested." So they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I think I've got some reading problems. I would love to get tested." I think it may have just been the receptionist. I don't know. She said, "Okay." It was this. I still remember her. No, she wasn't research. She was actually the assessor. She was an older woman, blonde, short, stout, lovely, very friendly. Um, and then she said, "Cool." I think she just read between the lines. And then I did the test. The test was strange because I thought it was going to be a bit more dynamic, a bit more interactive, but it was quite a basic test. In fact, she told me to do it online. Did it online. Said the results. She said, "Cool, you passed the preliminary test." Did it. They sent she refused to give me the results then and there. She said that it needs to go through an assessment, and I went somewhere else, I believe. Did the assessment there. They posted the letter. It took like a month to get any results. Um, they posted the letter, and I posted it. I used my parents' address in London. I'm from London, and it went there. Obviously, I'm not going to tell my parents to open my letters so they know that their firstborn child has reading problems. So yes, that happened, and this is where we are at. So the type of issues I was making in that job were, so I would write things like ones and sevens are a big problem for me. Typically with numbers, I'm fine with it. Do you know what? Even in Arabic, I have no problem reading in Arabic straight. I know it's odd and strange, but I don't know, in English, and English is my native language, my first mother tongue. In English, it's just really problematic for me. So ones and sevens is very difficult. I write things like decrease rather than increase. It's anything I write is plagued with issues. So in this job, this was the first. You would think it's an accounting job, so there wouldn't be any issues. But this was the first job that I've ever had, accounting job. So we're gonna have to have a mete break. So I'm drinking mete. This was the first accounting job that I've ever had to write so much. I would have to do monthly reports. I know everyone's probably thinking, of course you have to do, but it was 2,000. It was 2,000 word essays. I don't care. Even if you have reading problems, even if you don't have reading problems, rather, I'm sure who's writing 2,000 words for a job report. So I had to do this. So it was plagued with errors, plagued with problems. So I would write things like decrease rather than increase. I would write point one rather than 0.7. I would write this was a gain when it was a loss of the month. I would have issues, and you're probably thinking, "Femi, why didn't you tell them?" And I'm saying in response, "I don't know." So yeah, I don't know. And I've told a job in the past, and I just always felt othered. Not othered. I've always felt like they were second guessing me. So in any job you do, you always want to feel like you're the big boy or girl, big boy or circle. And I wanted to feel like that, and I just didn't like that. People always second guessed me. You, to be honest, if you have any sort of reading problems or writing problems, truth be told, you need someone to second guess. You need someone to do that audit on the things you do. And honestly, I needed it, but I didn't want it. Do you know? I also think a big part of it is this is quite nice, by the way. I also think a big part of it is that almost most places I've worked, especially in early stages of my career, most places I've worked, I've been the first ethnic minority, first black person that's ever been there, or one of the first few, or they had one. Even though I'm from London, imagine. So I've always wanted to almost prove to them and to myself that I'm good, and I suffer from major imposter syndrome. So oftentimes I just think, how did I get here? And I don't want to. Yeah, anyway. So that's what's happened. So I didn't. So I told him in that job there was a job I was outed because for me, I need an overlay to read better. So I read better in greens and browns. Um, what black on white is difficult. So I haven't done any research on this, but I've read a few things online. I just want everyone to know, as a PSA, black on white is not good for people with dyslexia, reading problems. It's not good. And I remember there was a job I actually used to send emails in brown and white. I used to send emails in brown and white. I didn't tell them either. Anyway, where were we? I used to have this overlay. She's found it. She was quite astute. So she said, "Do you have dyslexia?" And I was like, "I have reading problems. Do you have dyslexia?" I may do. Yeah. So why didn't I tell this job? I just thought there's no need in the grand scheme of things. As long as I have ways to navigate it, and which I'm 35, so I've done a fair few navigating around things, if that makes sense. But this job particularly, it was just too much writing. I don't know all the accountants out there. We don't do monthly 2,000 word reports on a monthly basis. Quarterly, okay. Mid-year, yes. To the trustees, yes. Annually, absolutely. So you can absolutely, but monthly, and honestly, I'm telling you, people are probably out there saying, "Why not use AI?" AI can't keep up with my writing issues. AI cannot keep up. Gemini, I've used Copilot as well. Gemini, she cannot keep up with me. Oh, by the way, she didn't buy anything. She didn't buy anything. I've checked Etsy. So what happens now? I don't know. How am I using my unemployment? I guess I can tell you guys in the next video. This video is probably, I don't know how long this video is. Probably far too long already. Thank you for listening. I think this has been good for us. Yeah, I'll see you next video. Thank you. I really appreciate it, genuinely.